is really critical is when we are going to have this conversation, and we know we're going to have it, is to really establish a safe place for the conversation. You want, whether it's you and another person or you and a few people, you all want to agree on where's the best place for this conversation. Maybe it's at your house, maybe it's at their house, maybe you're out for a walk. In the workplace, maybe it's in a room that you both find very neutral. So you want to choose the best place where you feel safe. And then in this next point, it's almost like you're talking about, you're having a conversation about how to have this conversation. So you want to be able to say, look, we're here because we're talking about this situation. And I want us to both agree on how to keep the conversation on track. So if this conversation starts to go out of scope, if I bring up something from a few months ago, or you do, we both have permission to stop each other and say, hey, wait a minute. Remember, we said this conversation's about this. So let's respect the boundary here and stay in scope. And if you happen to get reactive, if you find yourself, like if you're the person who's starting the conversation, and maybe what happened last week, as you start to talk about it with that person, you maybe feel yourself getting a little emotional, which is normal and okay. But by using self-awareness, right? And just noticing maybe any tension that you're feeling that's maybe leading to your voice getting louder, then try and catch yourself and slow down and lower your volume. Because even by slowing down and lower your volume, your body also shifts a little bit. And that, the stress that you might be feeling just lowers a little bit. And say to each other or to whomever, who's there, that if you get reactive, if either of you get reactive, then you can call a timeout. And it just allows people to recenter. It's not uncommon for people to get reactive, especially, if it's a tense conversation. But we don't get very far when we stay in that reactivity. So if you can, go outside, take a break, get some air, and then come back and resume the conversation. I'll go through 2 more slides and then I'm going to stop. I like how my mouse is just getting away on me here. Okay. So continuing with this, establishing a safe space. When the person speaks, what's vital is to paraphrase back what that person has said. And what that does, you're demonstrating to them that you're actually hearing what they're saying. And what you want to be mindful of is this, because remember, we're in a difficult conversation. When the person's been speaking and you've been listening, they may have said some things that you don't agree with. So that's okay. But you want to be mindful when you paraphrase that you don't do something like this. And I'm going to exaggerate. Oh, okay. So how you saw last week was you thought that, because then if we're coming across that way, they're not going to feel like we're really listening. So we want to paraphrase so that we demonstrate that we're hearing them. Doesn't mean we agree with them, but it demonstrates that we're listening and we're hearing. And that sets up the conditions for them wanting to hear us all the more. Marilyn, I see your hand raised. Yes, please ask your question.
Am I correct in interpreting that you're talking about a situation where there has been a previously determined agreement between the two or however many individuals that we're about to have a difficult conversation? There's always the possibility that the other person just says, no, I'm not having this conversation.
Yeah.
And so you're operating on the premise that both individuals have agreed that this is time to talk and this is how to move forward from that point. Okay, just wanted to make sure that I had my marker in the right spot. Thanks.
Yeah. And Marilyn, on that point, I don't know if you caught, I don't know if you were here right at the beginning, but what I did say was I said that I created the class with that intention in mind. However, if you found yourself in a difficult conversation, all of this can still apply. Apart from that, you set up a safe space, because obviously that is preemptive, right? You've planned that. But these next pieces that we go into, and talking about what, how we say what we say, that you can use that too for if a difficult conversation, you find yourself all of a sudden in a difficult conversation. So yeah, thank you for
So
your question.
am I correct in interpreting, though, that all along it's been presumed that both parties are willing to talk?
Absolutely. That's a correct assumption. Yes. Yeah.
I just wanted to make, all right, thank you.
Okay. So the paraphrasing, that again demonstrates to the person that you're actually listening and hearing them. And I can't emphasize this enough. It doesn't mean you agree with them. So it just sets up the conditions for them being far more open to hear what you have to say when it's your turn to talk. And as they're talking, if you find yourself wanting to interrupt because you don't agree, or they just got what you said or had done wrong, just take a breath, let them continue, and know that you'll get an opportunity to respond. And now what's helpful to know is when you know that you're going to be stepping into this conversation, is preparing for the conversation beforehand. So writing out how you want to start and knowing what you want to cover. Now, the person that if you're the one who's if you're the one who said, look, I really want to have this conversation, what you want to talk about and what's important to you, you don't have to show that to them. You're bringing this forward into the conversation because these are the pieces that matter to you. They might not have been the one who's called for the conversation, you have, but they've agreed to have it with you because they can see that you were upset.